Hello, people. Welcome to another episode of Grand Football TV. Welcome. And it's your host again, Mr. Chiggs. Welcome after a long break. Yes, the international break is over. Thank God. No more international breaks until March. So now it's football. Yeah. Okay. We are here for game week 12. Game week 12. Yeah, but before we look at game week 12, let us remind ourselves of what happened in game week 11. It's been nearly 2 weeks now, and I've even forgotten some of them. I had to write them down because, it's been a while. So, yeah, let's look at the results from game week 11 before we look at game week 12. Yeah, so the first game that was played in game week 11. Remember that game? Tottenham versus Manchester United. That one finished in a 2-2 draw. Yeah, Man United, getting a draw late on through Matthias de Ligt. Yeah, so that one finished in a draw. And when we look at the pundits, what did they predict? Well done, actually. There's quite a few people who predicted that scoreline of 2-2. Well done to Osita. Well done to Fane. Well done to David. Well done to Nyema and Michael. All five of them got that correct score of 2-2. Yep. Okay, next game. Everton versus Fulham. Everton versus Fulham. Everton beating Fulham 2-0 in that one. And well done to King T and Anu. They both got that correct score of 2-0. And then we have West Ham versus Burnley. West Ham beating Burnley 3-2. Well done to King T again. I remember he got them 2 correct scores. Yeah, so he got 3-2 and everyone else just got the outcome, really, not the correct score. So well done to King T. Sunderland versus Arsenal. First time Arsenal was conceding after a long time and they drew 2-2 in this one. And well done to Dion. Dion got the correct score of 2-2. Well done. Chelsea versus Wolves. Chelsea beating Wolves 3-0 that day. And well done to yours truly. I was the only one. That makes it even better. I was the only one who got 3-0 to Wolverhampton. Aston Villa versus Bournemouth. Aston Villa running away with that one, beating Bournemouth 4-0. And no one predicted that scoreline, which is not surprising because of how Bournemouth has been playing this season. No one would have seen them losing 4-0. Brentford versus Newcastle. Brentford beating Newcastle 3-1. And no one predicted that scoreline. A few people got the outcome, but not the correct score. So well done. Crystal Palace versus Brighton. That one finished 0-0. No one actually predicted even a 0-0, let alone a draw. I think only one person predicted a draw, or 2 people. That's it. And then Nottingham Forest versus Leeds. That one finished 3-1 to Nottingham Forest. And yours truly again. Doing well, aren't I? Two correct scores this week. Well, that week. And well done to Dion as well. Well done to Dion because he also got that correct score of 3-1. Yeah. And then the last game from that week, Manchester City versus Liverpool. Man City v Liverpool. And that one finished Man City beating Liverpool 3-0. No one saw that coming. Well, yep, no one predicted the correct score for that one. So I'm not surprised with the final score that no one got it right. Yeah, so now let's move on to game week 12. Game week 12. Game week 12. It's going to be an interesting one. And who kicks it off? Burnley versus Chelsea. Burnley Chelsea is the first game for game week 12. And this game, it's difficult to call it because Burnley have been actually very, very dangerous at home. Although they've lost to the so-called big teams, but they haven't just laid down for them to get beaten, apart from maybe the Man City game. But every other one, even the Arsenal game, I know Arsenal won 2-0 eventually, but there were a few scares there to stop Arsenal from keeping their clean sheet. But Arsenal won. But this one, I see Chelsea winning. And it all depends as well what Chelsea team turn up though, because I know quite a lot of their players went for the international break and some might have returned late. So this might affect who would actually start the game or who would actually play in the game. But you would imagine they have enough to still go ahead and beat Burnley. So I'm going to go for Chelsea to win 3-1 away from home. I've got a few pundits who have sent their predictions as well, Osita and Chris. So I'm going to be going through the three of us every time. So Osita has gone for Chelsea to win 2-0. He's a Chelsea supporter, so you wouldn't expect less. And Chris, an Arsenal supporter, has gone for Chelsea to win 3-1 as well. Yeah. Bournemouth versus West Ham. These two teams are going into this game with different feeling. Bournemouth lost their last game woefully against Aston Villa, and West Ham scraped the win. So they will be buzzing from their last win because now they're starting to put things together with Nuno. So this one I feel is going to be a very, very tight game. And Chris has gone for Bournemouth to win 3-1. Osita has gone for West Ham to win 2-1. But I've gone for Bournemouth to win 2-1. I think Bournemouth would just have enough to try and win the game, considering that they would still be, carrying that loss in their minds from the last game. Brighton versus Brentford. Brentford. Brighton drew their last game. Brentford won their last game. And it all depends who needs it most. I think Brighton, because they're at home, would probably have an edge. Brentford been playing well, but I wouldn't say that well away from home. So this one might be a bit tricky for them as well. So I'm going to go for Brighton to beat Brentford 3-1. And Osita has gone for Brentford to win 2-1. And Chris has gone for Brighton to win 2-1. Interesting. Fulham versus Sunderland. Fulham, they haven't been great this season so far. And Sunderland, on the other hand, have been flying, So they would fancy their chances coming to London. But Fulham, because of how badly they've been playing, I would imagine this international break might have done them some good, where they might have, done some proper reflection on how well they're doing this season and come into this game wanting to make sure they get a good result. So because of that, I'm going to go for Fulham to beat Sunderland 2-1. And it's interesting because all across board, Chris and Osita also think the same. They think Fulham would beat Sunderland 2-1. Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest. Liverpool, 1 win in 6. Not good. So this game, you would imagine would be a game they would want to, kickstart the wins again and make sure at least there's no disruptions from now till March. Make sure they're in a better place come the end of the year, especially. So I would say Liverpool are going to win this one against Nottingham Forest. And I'm going to go for a 3-1 scoreline. 3-1. And again, we all agree. Chris and Osita also agree that it is going to finish 3-1. Wolverhampton versus Crystal Palace. Wolverhampton versus Crystal Palace. Wolves have just appointed a new manager, the former manager of Luton, who was at Middlesbrough before coming here, Rob Edwards. So I think this game, he might want to get them, making a statement saying, look, things are changed here. Things are changed. Because they've got a good squad, just maybe not playing good football at the moment. So I would say for this one, Wolves would beat Crystal Palace 1-0. Wolves would beat Crystal Palace 1-0. But Osita and Chris think the same. They both think that Crystal Palace will go to Wolves and beat them 3-1. Yep. Newcastle versus Manchester City. There's a big game, especially for Newcastle, because they've not had a great season so far. So the international break, again for them, they might have done some reflection, although they might be missing some players for this one, but you would imagine the ones who would come to replace should still be able to do the job. So I'm going to go for Newcastle to beat Man City 2-1. Well, I need them to. And Osita has gone for a draw 2-2. And Chris has gone for Man City to win 3-1 away from home. Leeds versus Aston Villa. Aston Villa. Leeds lost their last game. Aston Villa won comfortably in their last game. So Aston Villa, the team who would be looking forward to this one, buzzing. But Leeds also would probably have something to say. But I am going to go for Villa to still get that win away from home. And we all think the same. I've gone for Villa to win 2-1. Osita also thinks 2-1 to Villa. And Chris thinks 3-1 to Villa. The big one, the North London derby. Arsenal versus Tottenham. A lot of players out for both teams, especially Tottenham. But who's there would have to serve. And I feel Arsenal, this is a big game. This is a must win. And this is obviously a rivalry. So I feel Arsenal will stay the mark. That game where they conceded, they probably want to start afresh and make sure they don't concede. So I'm going to go for Arsenal to beat Tottenham 3-0 without conceding. Osita thinks Arsenal would win 2-1. And Chris thinks Arsenal would win 2-1. We'll see. Then the final game for game week 12. Manchester United versus Everton. Man United versus Everton. Man United drew their last game. Everton won their last game. So it'll be interesting to see who wants it more. But Man United, they've been doing okay this season. But because they're at home, you would imagine they have the upper hand and should win this one. So I'm going to go for Manchester United to beat Everton 2-1. And Osita has gone for a draw 1-1. While Chris thinks Manchester United would beat Everton 3-1. Interesting. So What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comment section. What have you predicted for game week 12? Do you think the North London derby would live up to its expectations? Do you think City can go to Newcastle and get a result? Do you think Liverpool can start afresh and start getting wins, with them? Let us hear what you have to say. Thank you for joining us, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
Yo, check this.